Hello, my name is Laura, and today I'm really excited to turn the pages of my story and share with you the album of my life full of memories that have shaped me. But before we dive in, here's a brief introduction about myself. I'm an English student pursuing a bachelor's degree in foreign languages with an emphasis in English at Unity University, currently enrolled in the English 2 course. This journey that we will take together has been enriched by meaningful experiences, warm-hearted people, and once-in-a-lifetime memories that I still hold close to my heart, as they influenced me as a person. So let's turn back the clock together for a trip down memory lane. This story will not only share my life experiences, but I also think it would also bring to life memories that many of us can relate to. To start with, my story began under this breathtaking sky that you can see in my presentation, which has witnessed the past 26 years of my life. This is actually the sky of Pereira, Colombia, where I was born on October 30th in 1999. I've lived in Pereira my entire life, and I don't think I would ever change my country or my city for another because it's more than just a place rich in culture and traditions. To me, it feels like a sacred home where I have carried my story. I grew up in a close-knit community and a caring family that inspired me to nurture my values and become a better human being with a grounded character. I used to live on the outskirts of the city center in a quiet neighborhood that was called 2500 Lores in Cuba, where I even drew my first home in kindergarten back in 2005. When I was 6 years old, my family moved to Villa Navarra. I can say that my childhood was full of joy, laughter, and unforgettable moments that I still cherish. And my school years marked a turning point in my life, filled with milestones and achievements. I went to a public school where I completed my primary education and where I learned a lot with my teachers and friends. Then my educational journey took a turn as I attended a Catholic school that offered nothing but support, guidance, and a learning space where I felt more understood and encouraged to grow personally and academically. I can say that one of the things that stood out during my time there was the bond that I had with my teachers, who became a source of support, camaraderie, and understanding. In contrast, I didn't experience the same with my classmates actually. I didn't have the same connection with them as I used to be shy and struggled to break the ice. However, over time, I began to feel more confident and made new friends. After finishing high school, I fell in love with English and languages when I enrolled at the Colombo Americano Institution. When I was there, I strengthened my English skills and transformed my perspective on language learning. But my story is not written only in classrooms and places, but also in the simple memories that take me back in time, especially in the flavors and joys that nourished my soul. When I was younger, I had a variety of favorite dishes. I remember that I loved hot dogs, hamburgers, spaghetti, pizza, and French fries, of course. I also had a sweet tooth for ice cream, chocolate, vanilla topped cookies, and all kinds of candies. Moreover, my family dinners at famous restaurants such as Toisa, Lucerna, Frisbee were really special. There we enjoyed eating Chinese rice and cucarachas, turning each meal into meaningful family stories. And I also remember that I used to wait for the moments when my grandmother prepared like some traditional meals such as tamales, fruit salads, and bandeja paisa, along with blackberry and passion fruit juice. At the roots of the tree of my life I definitely think that my family has always been at the heart of my story and is the apple of my eye. My grandparents taught me a lot. They showed me the importance of tradition and family, and my parents guided me with care and support. Whether celebrating birthdays, holidays, or a meal, my family has packed my life with joy. My story continued to grow with small creative activities and escapes that allow me to dream and express myself better. Some of my favorite hobbies included skating in the park with my friends, painting, drawing, writing in my diary, having picnics, collecting small treasures from nature while looking at the sky, the birds, and the stars. When I was younger, I loved all of these activities. And needless to say, I loved riding my bicycle, especially in areas where I could connect with nature and feel energized. And then came the digital era. I spent hours exploring the Encarta encyclopedia because I wanted to learn about different sciences and feed my curiosity. I always think I've been like a bookworm who likes reading. The small computer screen that you can see there was more than just a memory. It was like my first window to the digital world. Because when I saw it for the first time, I began to pick up the nuts and bolts of technology and computers. Additionally, when I was younger, I was also a lover of cinema because I was really into movies. In my spare time, I used to watch some blockbusters such as Home Alone, Shrek, Matilda, Dirty Dancing, and Forrest Gump. On the other hand, music has always been the soundtrack of my memories, I think. When I was a child and even as a teenager, my world was full of pop, romantic, and rock icons that sparked my love for it. Some singers like Michael Jackson, Britney Spears, Guns N' Roses, and the Beatles became some of my biggest influences, and even today I still enjoy their throwback songs because they make me feel like I wanna dance and sing all the time. Moreover, bands like RBD, Backstreet Boys, and Patito Feo couldn't be missed. When I was younger, my family and I used to have like some karaoke sessions at parties, having a blast and singing a lot. Even though we no longer do this because we have different occupations on a regular basis, and I don't always understand some songs in English and other languages, I still love singing and reading the lyrics with my mother, especially with her, while she does house chores because it lifts my spirits and it sets the tone for a more joyful day. And games were like small worlds because when I played, I explored my imagination. Among my favorites, I grew up playing classic and unforgettable video games like Super Mario Nintendo. I really liked competing against the dragons and the obstacles, and I also played Circus Charlie, Pac-Man, Purple Place, DTVA, and online free games that filled my afternoons with laughter. And plus, I loved playing hide and seek, dodgeball, jumping rope, and spending days at amusement parks and places that had a lot of swings. Additionally, I used to create like some adventures and role plays with dolls, stuffed animals, and toy babies with my friends. And board games were an important part of my childhood too. I used to play Parkies, Monopoly, La Cucaracha, Uno, and Loterita with my family. And some of my treasured memories are flying the kites, especially my pink kite in the afternoons with my father, feeling the wind and the scent of flowers in the air. And last but not least, I was also crazy about stop, as it always helped me exercise my brain and keep it sharp. As I look back on my younger self, I realize how much my daily habits have changed over time. As a child, I used to go on shopping sprees with my family, especially during holidays to buy gifts. I spent hours binge watching cartoons and soap operas with my mom, mainly Mexican, Korean, Turkish, and Colombian shows on TV or on CDs that we bought. With the advancement of technology, I no longer watch TV, and now I often use streaming apps like Netflix to enjoy my favorite series. I also used to fiddle my eyelashes before falling asleep, and writing and decorating letters to my loved ones, going to bed early, and following household rules were all part of my daily routine when I was younger. And I also used to read books in the library, and some of my favorite books that I still like reading are the ones that you can see here: The Power is Now and Emotional Intelligence. And I couldn't forget Nacho. This is a book that holds a very special place in my heart, as it taught me to read and write when I was a kid. Now my habits have evolved into a more responsible and I think a more mindful and organized way of living. Currently, I plan my days, I set meaningful goals, and wake up early to study and do my homework. Since I'm more focused on taking care of my health, I started to cut back on sugary and fatty food, and I decided to drink more water and eat fruits and vegetables on a regular basis. I don't drink soda any longer. I also dedicate some time to reading ebooks of all genres, listening to podcasts on YouTube, and learning languages online, especially English, which has become a real passion. Furthermore, I now meditate, exercise, and take photographs. These are activities that I either didn't do before or I practiced but only once in a blue moon. And last but not least, I used to have all my dolls taking up my space on my shelves. But now all of my belongings, including my books, are kept like in boxes to keep my bedroom more organized. In conclusion, I see how small everyday actions have helped me grow like a vibrant flower, and I believe that the importance of memories lies in the fact that they are like treasures that give life, purpose, and meaning to our journey. And so we've reached the end of this journey through my memories, but my story doesn't end here. Of course, it continues to grow, blossom, and create new chapters every day. Thank you for joining me on this trip down memory lane. Here, the references that I used throughout the task, some course details, and a heartfelt thanks for listening and sharing this journey with me.